38 and 42% shooting. Maryland's top scorer, Anthony Cowan, he has been in a horrendous slump right now. Just 16 of his last 49 shots. Northwestern, live dog. Maryland's 11-2 straight up at home, Dave, but just 4-7 against the spread, and now they're in that little losing streak. I just can't lay that many points with a team struggling to score at the moment. And this line, I think, is based a little bit high based on the success that Maryland had earlier. I think this one right now, not the better team, but they're playing better. I'm going to go with Northwestern plus the points here.
Well, the Westgate is home to Superbook USA. Jeff Sherman joins us on Tuesdays. You can follow him on Twitter at GolfOdds. Jeff has, if you follow his tweets, I mean, you get updated information all the time from the amazing Superbook, and also lots of good NBA opinions and golf opinions and stuff like that. Jeff's with us right now. What's going on, big guy? How are you?
Oh, man, just trying to get through the week. A lot of stuff.
So, all right, let's get up to speed on the Super Bowl with the side in total and money line as they are right now.
We're sitting at Patriots 2.5, total of 56.5. Money line, Patriots minus 145, Rams plus 125. And continuing to see a high pace of Patriot support. We're actually seeing a little bit of Rams support come in for that past couple days, though. So we're not one shop that's looking close to going 3 yet.
Do you think it'll ever get that way, or does it go back down to the weekend?
I don't think you're going to see much of it out there at 3 of the places that have it. I think it's going to come back down. With the Rams money that we're starting to see show up, 3 is just such a big number here, and it's so far off of what a lot of people's power ratings are that I think it's going to come back down a little bit.
Jeff, we did a bunch of videos yesterday in studio, and we had a lot of different guys around town, and Derek was there from your shop, and it actually surprised me that the general consensus between most of the people we talked to, that they felt there was more of a chance of this to go down than it was to go up. Yet every time we've been talking, the public's so hard on New England, and as we know, the heavy money for this game doesn't start coming in till Friday, Saturday, and Sunday when the weekend fills up with all those tourists.
Yeah, and that's just the thing we've seen so far. We don't have a lot of large wagers on it. We had, I think, a $30,000 one on the Patriots minus 1.5, but really nothing that's added up to a lot that's put us in some caution that we need to start heading towards 3. So we're sitting fine, and if you take into account how we're doing on the futures between the two teams, we're a little bit better off shape on the Patriots. So taking that into account, we're almost like balanced on the game right now when you take a look at everything. So we're pretty far away from the number 3 ourselves.
Two things seem inevitable every year with Superbook USA. The Super Contest is going to have a record number of entries every year. Just keep on breaking the record. And you guys are going to put up a record number of props every year, and you've done it again. What was the final tally on the number of props for this year's Super Bowl?
We got, on the two-way props themselves, we got 442. And if you take into account all the index props and available options to bet on the game, it's well over 1,000.
Unbelievable. And, we'll get into which ones are getting the most action, but what percentage do you anticipate the overall Super Bowl volume will be on props?
It's over 50%. We're thinking about 55% based on what we saw last year and the pace that we're on this year. So it really it has a lot more meaning to the game than people realize.
Jeff, in that first 24-hour period after you guys opened them up last Thursday night at 7 p.m. Out here in Vegas, how much money did you guys what was the handle like for that first 24 hours on the props? Because obviously the people hitting those props that fast, obviously, are the more respected people in town.
Yeah, we opened them up from 7 to 10 on the counter only. We didn't open the mobile until Friday morning. So just over the counter in those three hours, we did well over 400,000 in handle on the props. And just like you mentioned, that's just about all sharp action coming in. So really defining the numbers that night.
It is extraordinary. And, of course, they're all up on the app right now, and it's easy to navigate so you won't get overwhelmed. So if you have the app downloaded, it's really easy. Just go there and start checking them out. And if you don't have the app downloaded, doesn't matter if you have an account or not. You can download the app right now.
Yeah, you might want to do that now because it might take you the next few days to peruse all the options that we have up. So
it makes sense. So this was I want to talk some NBA here because I saw this tweet from you last night, and Yeah, I nodded my head when I saw it. I said, that really does make sense. And it was regarding the Anthony Davis situation. He's clearly not going to be with the New Orleans Pelicans any longer. And I'll let you describe what you tweeted, and then we can talk about it.
Well, I'm figuring the Pelicans have to get the perfect haul in return. And if they make any mistake at all in this and don't get any type of superstar player back, whether it's through draft picks or an existing one, they already have a very poor fan base there. It's one of the lower ones in the league. And if you lose someone like Davis and don't have anyone to fill the seats, you're talking between Memphis and New Orleans. Those are two likely candidates to relocate. And I just think if Davis ends up leaving, which it looks like he will, they really need to get something perfect back, or else that franchise looks like it's going to be heading out of town.
So you've got Memphis and New Orleans that could become Seattle and Las Vegas.
Yeah, and from what I hear, Las Vegas is ahead of Seattle in the relocation order.
Really?
So it's interesting to see this, but it looks like with the Davis situation that the wheels could be in motion for New Orleans.
Yeah, you know what? And here's the thing. With both those franchises, and particularly with New Orleans, every time they get a superstar, they leave. Every time. You go back to Baron Davis when he first came in the league before the injuries kind of slowed him down and made him kind of an ordinary guy. But he was a great player when he first came in the league. And that was going to be the cornerstone for the New Orleans franchise for years to come. And it's been Davis and others following, and now Anthony Davis. And the one thing in Cup, they all leave. And that's... eventually fans are just going to say, the hell with it. Let's not bother to go anymore.
Yeah, and that's the problem with the small markets.
Yep.
You see the exception in Oklahoma City with Paul George staying with Westbrook, but really the rule is these guys don't stay around, and they look to get in a situation that they want to be in more so than what they are now. And that's obviously where we're headed with Anthony Davis, whether it's L.A. or somewhere else.
The beauty of it is, if you're a Pelicans fan, they might change the name of the franchise, but if they end up here in Las Vegas, I would expect that just like it's going to be in hockey and I believe it will be in football as well, it will become an attractive destination. And Las Vegas will become one of the power franchises in the league in terms of being able to lure big-time talent just because we're Las Vegas.
Yeah, there's no doubt, and plus the state tax that plays a role into it for free agency. So I think it'd be a very successful franchise, whichever one would come here.
Jeff, we got two games on TNT tonight. When you guys broke down and put up a number on this Pelicans-Rockets game, how much did you weigh the game a little bit to the Houston side, obviously, with the breaking news, because that's got to change the psyche of this team for the Pelicans?
Well, not just the psyche, but their personnel up and down the lineup. They just have everybody out. Julius Randle, Davis, Etuan Moore, Nikola Mirotic. All the production. They just have Drew Holiday left, and we did a prop on him, and we have 22.5 points. It's bet up to 24.5 points because there's really no other production around him on the team at this point. So, we opened the Rockets 10. It's been bet up to 11.5. So it's tough to find New Orleans support at this point.
The second one on TNT is Philadelphia and the Lakers. We previewed this one in the first segment. My question is, which Philadelphia team shows up? This has been a Jekyll and Hyde team all season. When they play well, they can play as good as anybody in the East, but too often than not, they just don't show up. And definitely some chemistry issues there and, maturity as well. And they've had problems with Jimmy Butler. Seems like that's a recurring theme wherever he's going. How do you see this one?
Well, I think you're going to see the motivated 76ers show up tonight because it's Butler's return, and Embiid's always one for the spotlight. And this game being on TNT against a high-profile team like the Lakers, he ought to have a good game. We have his point total at 28.5. And on the other side with the Lakers, obviously LeBron's been out for a while, getting close to returning, but they're without Kuzma and Ball also. So Kuzma and James out, that's a large part of the production on the Lakers side, and I think it's going to be difficult for them to keep pace with the Sixers.
Doesn't sound like a great tournament when you just announce the Phoenix Open. But then you watch it, and you find out why it's known as the People's Open or the greatest show on grass. It's not even a great field. Matsuyama's probably the best field. Matsuyama's probably the best player in the field. But there's just no event on the PGA Tour to match the Phoenix Open for fun.
Yeah, and that's just they allow the atmosphere. It's one of the few ones that the crowd gets into it, and it's an exciting one, and coinciding with Super Bowl week every year. So it allows us to get some of the golfers involved in Super Bowl props too.
Yeah, and look, Matsuyama has really played well in this course. He's off a good tournament. Is he the guy to beat?
I believe so. I mean, we have John Rahm at 7-1. He's off to a fabulous start this season, so a warranted favorite there. Justin Thomas at 9-1. He's seeing some betting support too. I did open Matsuyama at 12. He's been bet down to 10, and you can't help but look past his history with this, with back-to-back wins and top four finishes. Last year he withdrew. That was part of his wrist injury, but he is coming off a third place last week, so he has all the momentum. And I actually think he is a value play, getting him as an underdog in a matchup against Thomas or Rahm at this point.
I agree. And by the way, even last year, he's playing hurt, and then he had to withdraw. He still shot 69 in the first round. So he loves this golf course, and he's one of the players, and I think a lot of players skip it because it's too noisy and just too raucous for them, but it clearly doesn't bother him. He seems to thrive on it, so I would expect that he's going to be in the hunt on Sunday. Yeah,
I fully agree with you there, and the betting public has already went that way too.
Yep, and he's one of the guys that's really popular down there because, you know, some of the biggest names do skip this event, but he is one of the big names who shows up every year. So the fans love him down at Phoenix, and he'll have a huge following all weekend long. Let's talk about the soccer match of the week, Jeff.
Well, we got one. Man City just came off a loss today at Newcastle in the English Premier League, and I used one of the matches that we have involving Super Bowl props this Sunday. Where Arsenal visits Manchester City now, and Man City should be highly motivated because they're losing ground to Liverpool. They're sitting second to Liverpool in the league, and that was a tough loss today. But the Arsenal-Man City match actually involved 3 Super Bowl props with this match, so you can mix up goals in the game against Gronkowski receptions, Sergio Aguero goals against Jared Goff's second-quarter touchdown passes, or Arsenal and Man City first-half goals against Gostkowski field goals made. So
I love
a few ways to bet the soccer match and the game.
They're so much fun. And give me one involving the Golden Knights. How about a cross-sport prop involving the Golden Knights in this year's Super Bowl?
Oh, we got so many of them. Let me see what we got here. We got Knights and Panthers goals against Robert Woods receptions, and that's just one of about 10 that we did.
See, that could be a high-scoring game because the Panthers don't play a lot of defense, and they do have a good offense, especially now that Trocheck came back. So, you know, I'm thinking that you guys had to put up a big number on that one, and otherwise, I think I might have to bet the over on the hockey side of that to go over.
Yeah, you know, it is a second of a back-to-back for the Knights. They play in Carolina on Friday night. This game for the Knights is on Saturday night, the night before the Super Bowl. So we had to take some of that into account as a back-to-back situation when we're making these props.
What happens if Fleury plays the first game and sits the second, and Subban plays? Are you going to get a flood of action? That will, because that'll get the
That's the
locals.
first thing that went in my mind.
Locals are going to look at that. Yep.
There's no doubt, and we have Fleury involved in one of the props. So if Fleury saves against Rams points, obviously that would be a refund if he doesn't play. But if Subban's in there, which, you know, the Knights have been off for 8-9 days when they get to Friday the night before. So even playing back-to-back, they've had plenty of time off, and it shouldn't be that bad of a situation. We're expecting Fleury to be in there.
I suspect he might play both games on the road, and they're important games because the team ended on a 2-game losing streak going into the Stanley Cup break, or the All-Star break, so they need to kind of pick it up coming out of the break. Jeff, again, I know as far as reserving a spot for any of the events taking place this weekend, that can't be done at this point. But for those who do want to get down to the Superbook, any advice that might help them secure a seat on the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, just get down here as early as you can, and I would say bring a group of people because then you can take turns in shifts of going out, getting food, things like that. If you come down with just 2 or 3 people, then you might lose your spot rather easily. It's going to be so packed down here. But we will have viewing all throughout the casino and all the bars and sound up throughout the casino in sync together. So plenty of viewing opportunities.
Or get a good spot at one of the poker tables.
There you go.
There you go. Play some poker, watch the game. Yeah, there's ways to go about it. Good advice, Jeff.
Absolutely.
All right, Jeff Sherman. Follow him on Twitter at GolfOdds. Check out his website as well, golfodds.com. Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, thanks, guys.
We'll be back after the break. Ralph Michaels producing his Joe's Angle of the Day, and I'll tell you what I had for lunch at Joe's as well.
The Las Vegas Sportsline. Hey, this is Jake the Computer Boy. Whoops, I meant Computer Guy from PC Laptops in Henderson, Nevada. You haven't heard me on the radio doing commercials in a long time because I've been